Imagine an empire stretching back for millennia, its very soul woven from a tapestry of countless gods. Now, imagine one man, a pharaoh, daring to tear that tapestry apart. This is the story of Akhenaten, the heretic king of Egypt, and his religious revolution that shook the ancient world to its core. From 1353 to 1336 BC, the pharaoh, originally named Amenhotep IV, meaning Ammonius is satisfied, made a decision that would forever alter his legacy. He turned his back on Ammonius-Ra, the king of the gods, and the entire pantheon that had guided Egypt for generations. In their place, he elevated a single, universal deity, the Aten, represented as the physical disk of the sun. He even changed his own name to Akhenaten, which means effective for the Aten, a public declaration of his new faith. This wasn't just a minor adjustment, it was a complete societal overhaul. For centuries, Egyptian life, from the grandest state rituals to the humblest daily prayers, was deeply intertwined with a complex web of deities. Gods like Osiris, Isis, and Horus weren't just abstract concepts, they were integral to the understanding of life, death, and the cosmos. Akhenaten's decree effectively rendered them obsolete. He ordered the closure of the old temples. Vast complexes that were not just places of worship but also the economic and political centers of a powerful priesthood. Think of the shockwaves this sent through the nation. The priests of Ammonius, who had amassed immense wealth and influence, were suddenly stripped of their power. Their authority, built over centuries, crumbled overnight. Akhenaten went further, launching a campaign to erase the very name of Ammonius from monuments and inscriptions across the land. It was a systematic attempt to wipe the old gods from memory, a move that many Egyptians would have seen as a terrifying act of blasphemy. To escape the lingering influence of the old faith, Akhenaten abandoned Thebes, the traditional religious capital, and built an entirely new city in the middle of the desert. He called it Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten, known today as Amarna. This city, constructed from scratch, was to be the heart of his new world order. He moved the entire royal court, his administration, and thousands of workers and artisans to this isolated location. Here, with his famous queen, Nefertiti, by his side, he could worship his god without the shadows of the past. Life in Amarna was a world away from the rest of Egypt. Art underwent a radical transformation. The stiff, formal poses of traditional Egyptian art were replaced by a new, more naturalistic and intimate style. We see images of the royal family in surprisingly casual settings, Akhenaten kissing his daughters, Nefertiti sitting on his lap. It's a style that emphasizes the pharaoh's role as the sole intermediary between the Aten and humanity. The art shows the sun disk's rays ending in little hands, extending ankhs, the symbol of life, only to Akhenaten and his family. For everyone else, access to the divine was now exclusively through the pharaoh. But what was this new religion really about? The Great Hymn to the Aten, a text found in a tomb at Amarna, gives us a glimpse. It's a beautiful piece of poetry that praises the Aten as a universal creator, the source of all life not just in Egypt, but across the entire world. It speaks of the sun giving life to all creatures, from the chick and the egg to the people of foreign lands. This was a revolutionary concept. Unlike the old gods who were specifically Egyptian, the Aten was a god for everyone. Some scholars have even seen this as the world's first recorded instance of monotheism, a belief in one single, all-powerful god. However, this vision of a unified world under one god was not shared by most Egyptians. Outside the bubble of Amarna, confusion and resentment were brewing. For the common person, the gods were personal protectors and guides. Suddenly, they were told these familiar deities no longer existed. The afterlife, a cornerstone of Egyptian belief meticulously planned around gods like Osiris, was thrown into uncertainty. Imagine the fear and disorientation of a people whose entire spiritual framework had been dismantled. They whispered of a pharaoh lost to madness, a king who had forsaken his people and his sacred duty to uphold Ma'at, the cosmic order. Akhenaten's radical experiment was ultimately short-lived. It was entirely dependent on his personal power and charisma. After a reign of about 17 years, he died. His city in the desert was quickly abandoned, left to be reclaimed by the sand. His immediate successors, including the famous Tutankhamun, who was originally named Akhenaten, moved swiftly to undo his revolution. Tutankhamun's name change itself signals the restoration. From living image of Aten to living image of Ammonius, the old gods were reinstated. The temples were reopened, and the priests of Ammonius regained their power with a vengeance. Akhenaten's legacy was systematically erased. His statues were smashed, his inscriptions were chiseled away, and his name was struck from the official king lists. Later pharaohs referred to him simply as that criminal or the enemy of Akhenaten. For nearly 3,000 years, the heretic king was almost completely forgotten, a ghost in Egypt's long and proud history. It was only with the rediscovery of Amarna in the 19th century that his story was pieced back together. Archaeologists unearthed the ruins of his ghost city, revealing the unique art and architecture of his reign. They found the Amarna letters, a trove of diplomatic correspondence that showed an empire in disarray. Its foreign policy neglected while the pharaoh focused on his religious obsessions. So what drove Akhenaten? Was he a true visionary, a philosophical genius who saw a universal truth far ahead of his time? Was he a political strategist, trying to break the overwhelming power of the Ammonius priesthood? Or was he a fanatic, a man whose personal obsession plunged his kingdom into chaos? The truth is, we may never know for sure. His motivations remain one of history's most compelling enigmas. Akhenaten's revolution, though a failure in its own time, left an indelible mark. It raises profound questions about the nature of faith, power, and tradition. How does one person's belief change the world, for better or for worse? The story of Akhenaten is a timeless and powerful reminder that even in the most ancient of societies, a single idea can challenge everything. The sands of Amarna still hold their secrets, but the ghost of the Sun King and his one true God continues to fascinate us to this day. What do you think? Was Akhenaten a visionary or a madman? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the past.